Worldly just kind of knocked orcs into the honorable mentions here because they're doing it a little bit better for the duration of this edition, of 10th edition.
Listen up, Umi. This is a podcast with the most tucker. This is Forge the Narrative.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Forge the Narrative. My name is Paul Murphy, your host. I'm joined by Adam Camilleri.
G'day.
And Tanya Gates.
Hey, everybody.
We are Labella Souls Podcast. It is a pleasure to be here talking to you about Warhammer stuff. A lot of stuff going on right now. Like, there's been a lot of little teasers about orc stuff coming out. And I know that is very pleasing to a very large section of our fellow hobbyists out there in the world.
Especially Red.
Not Red as in Go Faster Red, but Red on our podcast. He's got, we're gonna have to unpack that when he gets back about just what about these orcs.
I don't give him enough stick for his name. He gives me enough stick about so many things that actually matter. I got to get low to the ground and petty and just start taking jabs at who calls a kid Red. Do you have a brother called Green, Orange, Purple? Where do we start? Where's the line?
I don't think it's fair to pick on Red if he's not here to defend himself.
Not here, I will say that is a nickname. That is. But in any case,
look, the only reason is he's winning.
You got to get him in, but he can't re-rebuttal. Oh my goodness! But no, I think it's really cool. We've seen some orcs, and there has been the orc that we saw, with the war boss type pose or whatever, it looks a little bit different than some of the other orcs that we've seen. Like in concept, at least maybe.
So this looks like a return to form. So it's weird. So we had the Assault on Blackreach war boss, and then we had Gruk Face Ripper, who is like an enhanced, almost super upped version of that model. And now this looks like the current day evolution of that war boss. Good old Claw plus Squig plus Combi Slugger. And dude, he looks sick. I need to know how big he is. He looks gigantic.
Agreed. Yeah, because that's the Gretchen looks a little bit bigger than normal Gretchen too. Like he looks tough. Like the Gretchen is arguably the best thing in this.
And what's interesting is the facial structure of orcs has changed over the last couple of releases. We had all the Beastnagger boys, we had Mozrog, and that kind of whole sub faction of orcs getting fleshed out. They had a very, very different facial structure to them, looking more cunning and lean and less of the gibbering hooligan that we've come to know and love.
The Bolt was a Hammer and Bolter, the animated series on Warhammer Plus. Check it out if you have not. It's absolutely awesome. The orcs there, it's like they have longer mouths in the place that keeps their brain and their eyes is getting smaller and smaller, and that's kind of what this guy. I mean, orcs. You're right. It does look like a bit of it. Orcs have looked like a lot of different things in a lot of different ways and a lot of different editions. And this, to me, looks very similar to some of the Black Orc poses from either the Old World and Fantasy Battle and that kind of stuff. So it could be anything, and I love it. I'm here for it. But I'm telling you that Gretchen with the guns and the pose and the menacing face looks like he means business.
So maybe. I don't know if it's actually canon, but a lot of people talk about the Grot Revolution. Is that canon, or is that just something that orc fans made up?
I don't know if there's I feel like it has to be a real thing, right?
Right. Well,
I haven't heard of a piece of fluff to back that, but I'm here for it.
Well,
yeah,
the Red Gobbo,
right. Right. If there was a Gretchen-inspired detachment to play, I think people would be all over it, to be honest.
I really want more. So that's the part of the sub-faction of orcs that hasn't been properly fleshed out. Outside of Killicans, which are, manned by Grots, and Gretchen themselves with their run herds, they really, you could do a lot more. I would like a 3 Gretchen holding a rocket launcher on a base. That would be so cool to me.
Yeah. Oh, but I'm also just pointing. We're talking about that one single pose of the model. If you go to the Warhammer community art, it looks like there's alternate heads too, which look very reminiscent of current, orc styles and things like that.
What I want this kit to be is the Chaos Demon Prince kit. I want
Ooh,
that's
yeah.
what that's what I want. I want this to be an equivalent of that, where there's like 19 different heads and faces and arm combos, and that's what I really want this to be.
Look, who knows? But it does look big, looks menacing, looks cool. And then we saw another couple of orc teasers with yet another Gretchen and what looks to be like some kind of Gatling cannon or whatever. And I know it's easy to get kind of wrapped up in what that cannon looks like, but right next to it, it's got those like big teeth coming out, like tusks almost. So that looks like it's on a big mob.
Or maybe on a bike?
Yeah, look, war bikers are one of the kits, probably one of the older kits that are still in the orc range. So a biker would make sense. I'd love a unit of the trikes. That would be cool.
Oh
If
yeah,
if you had bikers, and then maybe if you have an equivalent of knob bikers, which have legended an age ago in the current game. If they could
I
get
love
like
knob
knob
bikers.
bikers on a trike, ooh. Who remembers 5th edition? I remember of the orc knob biker Death
Nah,
Star.
but that was a fun list to play.
It was.
Was
It's
that
very
back
fun.
when you could actually go faster if you painted your guys red?
That was after that.
Oh, I see. I see.
You could
That
go
was
an
my
inch faster
favorite.
if you painted your stuff red.
Yeah.
Worth it.
There was a lot of funny bits that happened there where someone would have a perfectly good, well painted like Bad Moon's army, and then they're like, yeah, but they all have a red stripe on the front now because I wanted to get the extra inch. And hey, you went through the effort and paint that stripe on, over a perfectly good color scheme. Fair enough to you.
It's a racing stripe. Obviously, it makes you go faster.
Yes. That was back in the day that if you took a war boss on bike, you could then take knobs on bike to fill out your CAD for 2 troop choices. And doesn't that just tickle so many of the nostalgia berries in our hearts?
I played knob bikers and it was incredibly fun to play.
Yeah.
So you had to play a certain way against it, so it made them maybe not fun to play against. It was back when like wound shenanigans were a thing, and
Yeah, you didn't have to take the wounds on the same model that was wounded. You could every model in the unit could take 1 wound before anybody had to take a second wound, and so you could really shift and do a lot of gamey bits and pieces. But everyone was doing it back then, so
yeah,
that's just how the game was.
It was great. It was like super orky, super aggressive, and it was just that's what made it kind of fun to play. Plus, it did have a very high win rate. So
Yeah, and back then it was like everyone was trying to be unhittable and uppy downy and moving around, jumping around with like grey knights and stuff like that. And the orcs were just like, we got a bunch of wounds and we go fast. I'm gonna come get you.
So
Yeah.
Paul was playing an army that was super fast and super aggressive, and I have to know, was it painted red?
No, it was blue. It was blue.
All right.
Death
I can't
Skull.
even fault you for that because Death Skulls are the best. They're the best.
And I use all the targeter eyes and everything. Anyway, there's a little bit of a theme to it, but it was still. Don't get me wrong, it was like the cheesy army for a little while, but it was still kind of fun to play. And people, you play against people that know how to play against it or play around it, and they do. And then people, it's when the meta's so defined, that's when you get to think outside the box and play something else. And then eventually I got taken down at a big tournament because someone did. They's like, you know what? I'm just going to take defilers to this tournament. And those were not considered that great, but what knob bikers couldn't kill? 3 defilers.
Yep.
At the time.
We just had a bunch of new battalions as well announced, coming along with the new expansion book, Aya Terra, which looks pretty cool. I got to say, anybody who doesn't have a Marines army, that box that has the 2 dreadnoughts and 2 repulsors in it, wow, that's a lot of points. That's like,
with takeable stuff too, like stuff you could play with all of that in that box
immediately. Like if you just have like generic Marine good stuff, like some intercessors and some stern guard, or a couple of characters, that just bolt that on the side, pump you right up to 2,000 points very easily.
And the thing with these, look, I know if you're just getting into the game, you don't have to paint them like the box art or the ad tells you to paint them. Those can just be whatever Marines colors you want.
You can paint them pink if you want. Yes, you can.
You totally can. No, but I was just saying you have to paint 2. You can't have them the same color. It's enshrined there, Paul.
You have to have 2 Imperial Fist and then 2 Black Templars.
2 Black Templars. And somehow have transfer sheets for both in the same box.
I love it. Look, it's still you're. I think it's great you pointed it out because it is like these
Yeah.
sets are awesome.
Well, it gives me some insights because they've announced some new detachments for those factions, and I'm wondering if this is like a Sons of Dawn detachment that lets you take a bit of both. Like you can take Black Templars units into a regular Space Marine army and stuff
You
like
think
that.
you really?
That would be cool to cross the streams
Yeah.
a little bit, not too much, but yeah.
So Imperial Fist. I mean, not to go off on a tangent, but the Imperial Fist are broken up into several different looking armies too. I mean,
Ooh, yeah,
Crimson
and
Fist, Imperial Fist, Black Templar.
a lot of high quality fluff regarding such should be coming out in the scouring books as well. Because Dawn was not happy when Ultramarines Gilliman's like, chop that thing up, chop it up, chop them all up. And of course, we got the Crimson Fist, we got Imperial Fist, and we got Black Templars.
It did. It made Dorn a little OP though in the Heresy novels.
Yeah, that's only because he didn't really go out and mix it up in the rest of the galaxy. He just kept almost full strength back at home. So,
But he could shift gears. Like, I need to be a Black Templar right now. Now I need to be an Imperial Fist. Now I need
yeah.
And
Yeah, mind you, wasn't much of a fan of my friend Sigismund by the end of things either. A lot of daddy drama in that one too.
I love that though. That's what the Heresy is about. I don't want, again, not going off on a tangent. It's like if you have not read it, you should read it. They're very cool stories. But anyway,
Interpersonal soap opera-ish drama inside my superhuman, galaxy conquering legions is everything I want in the world.
See, and that's why I like Space Wolves, is because they're just like have fun, drink mead, and party, and they just know their place. They're
Yep,
good boys.
yep. It was very funny, like seeing Russ trying to comprehend what the Alpha Legion was up to in a couple of the novels, being like, sneaky? We don't do sneaky here. What is that? Yeah.
oh, those box sets in the battalions when they come out as like a bit of a bundle, there's typically a little bit of a price break from what we've seen on those. Some may hold that. Hopefully that holds true for this kind of stuff, and it's a way to jump in if people want those models. But they all look pretty good. Even a night one. There's a night one.
Yeah, honestly, I wish I had known this was coming a month and a half ago because I essentially bought all the contents of that separately.
Oh
Like,
no.
yeah, literally when I got back from Cali, yeah, I just finished getting my Valiant painted up by a mate of mine. I'd been doing the bases and stuff. It's coming out real good. My bases on my knights. I don't know if I've told you about this.
You have?
A whole other Questoris knight I have taken to with a hammer and
Right.
used that. And I've put a little bit of that knight on every other base in my army. It's cool. I'm very happy with it.
That's nice.
So
nice, nice.
wait, is the knight painted? Oh, each of your knights is painted differently, though. Right. Okay.
No, not exactly. They're all the
Oh,
same house in the same scheme, but the house is cut in half. Like half fell to Chaos, half stayed loyal, and so
gotcha.
yeah, it's in keeping that they've been fighting each other, and there's bits of old knights scattered around the place.
Gotcha. I love a narrative base.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And look, you actually have a jump on your hobby, getting it done than the people that are
that's
waiting for
right.
that. So
And who knows? Maybe if the next edition is coming in a year or two, or whenever, the Valiant might be good. That I just finished.
oh my goodness. Oh, it burns. But speaking, okay, look, we talked about Space Wolves, some Knights, and now things with a bunch of details on them. And one of the topics I want to talk about is on the hobby side. Well, actually, we'll round this segment out with a hobby side, then we'll come back with a top five. Well, we got a top 5 list here coming out this week as well. And, we've been doing that last couple of weeks. I've had a good time. But speaking of hobby, and that is a little bit of what we're calling it, detail fatigue.
Detail fatigue. Yeah. I've been painting a lot of Imperial Guard stuff lately, and I just finished the Ratlings. They turned out awesome. However, there was so many things on them. Like each of them
Sausages.
had, yes, like sausages, one had a sandwich, and like really great little models. But by the end of it, I was like, man, there's so much going on these models. Like it was a real slog to get through all 14 of them.
So now, look, I want to clear. We are describing it's a very like first world problem or whatever.
Right.
Like, oh my goodness, these look too good. There's too much detail.
Right.
Like, but then also let's talk about it on the personal side of it is like you still have to paint it all, and you have a certain standard you're trying to maintain, and you've only got so many hours in a day.
That's right. So with these kill T models, you don't really have the option of not putting things on them. They come with the detail that they have, and you just sort of have to deal with it. But the rest of my army that I assemble, I generally tend to leave off a lot of the doodads and thingamajigs. So like if there's an extra pouch or a like water canteen on my guardsman or whatever, I will generally not put that on there. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
If it ain't built on the model, it's probably not getting on there either. Like a grenade pack. Sometimes look, sometimes you do. Sometimes you're like, you know what? I haven't done it in a while. It's a special day. Let's stick it on there.
I'm feeling
So
particularly ambitious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
my first big hobby project when I got back into 40K 12 years ago, 13, 14 years ago now, geez, was my guard army. And I had every intention of doing every possible detail on my guard army. They all got grenades, they all got pouches, they all got canteens, they all got bayonets, like every single one. I have 230 something painted Cadian guardsmen. Do you know what happened when I went to my Space Marine army? No
details.
grenades, no
Yeah.
pouches, not a dang thing. The idea of that, even though I had designed a very simple paint scheme, which was just black executed well with a bit of depth, some red stripes, and then detail work. Could not bring myself to do it. I had burnt myself out so thoroughly on details. I couldn't go there. And I actually feel slightly disappointed in myself that I didn't like tempo it out a little better with my guard army, so I had a little juice in the detail tank to do my Marines right.
Yeah.
So I'm not, because I feel like that's where all three of us are at. We've gone into the detail tank so heavily we can't look at it again. Whereas maybe they were a little bit more restraint and measured approach from the beginning would mean we still got bandwidth for it now.
That's one way to look at it. I think for sure one way to look at it, because we're all like you're all going to be on this journey, and you're going to have that ambition or that motivation. It comes in different times, and as we talked about on previous shows, it's real hard to manufacture that motivation sometimes. Like you got to figure out a way to power through it, and not to like jump to the end, or please don't take this as that way. But I think sometimes you just got to be gentle with yourself and know that you're just not set for that right now. I've got a great example. I think I talked about this, but several weeks ago I was painting up I cleaned up and reorganized my hobby desk. And while I was doing that, I found 3 Death Guard characters that I was got about, I don't know, 20% into the paint on there, about 20% done on them. And it was the ones, the putrefiers, they have all the grenades hanging from these antlers on their back or whatever, the vials and bottles and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I just can't do this right now. I can paint the armor, I can paint the antlers, or the wings, the spines. I can paint his juice gun, but I can't do all these bottles right now. I just can't. I just don't like. I want them to all be there. The way I want it to look is not matching what I can summon for myself right now.
Mhm.
And it took me a minute or two. I'd take a couple deep breaths. I was like, you know what? I can come back to this. Maybe all these bottles are just going to get the same color right now, and I'll come back and differentiate them and all look cool like a science kit. It like the one, the one that you see in cartoons or in movies or whatever, some other time.
Yeah. Another way that I kind of approach it is I keep my color palettes kind of limited, so I won't say it's a leather pouch, right, on my guardsman. I'm not going to paint it a leather color because that would be an extra color that doesn't exist already in my color scheme. So I'll just paint it either black or gray, essentially. And then generally with all those doodads, I do way less detail on them. So like way less highlights. Maybe I just wash it and then I just move on, because at the same time I don't want to draw any attention away from like the face or the gun or like whatever I've decided is the focal point of this model. I don't want the focal point to end up being this like perfectly painted pouch. and I actually was really disappointed because I posted my little dudes online, and on the Vox Thief, he's this fella. He's got this like sonar kind of handheld dish, and he's got this like Vox pack on the ground in front of him. And I made the mistake of putting too much detail into the Vox packs, and everybody's like, "Oh, that pack looks amazing." I went, but look at his face. I painted the eyeballs. Please. So yeah,
Oh my
I generally tend to do less on all of those extra
Look,
things.
I got a tip, for anybody out there. Contrast paints are great for some of those doodads. Like they
Yeah.
really do paint like on Space Marines. If you happen to have, again, we're feeling like super motivated that day, and you put all those pouches on every one of your intercessors. Contrast paint will basically do that on auto by itself. You still got to do it though, but still, it is one way to try to do it if you've got the inclination to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm doing a lot of that stuff now, there's a lot of push kits that came out early, usually in the starter boxes of early editions. Like all my assault intercessors, they all come with pouches and grenades because I would have to go and cut them off, file it down,
Right.
smooth it over, or just put some silver on the grenades. And so I just put the silver on the grenades. They're not getting highlighted. They're not getting anything done to them above a base coat and then washed. But that's the other way to go about it, to Tanya's point. If you don't have the
Yeah.
bandwidth to put the effort in, or you think putting the effort in is going to be detrimental to the overall view of the thing.
Yeah.
And look, it's so funny, the positioning on some of these pieces as well. Like there's a dude with a pistol like here, and he's got his chainsword up, and then right under his elbow is the grenade, and then right behind the grenades is the pouch with his heavy bolt pistol, or his empty pouch. I'm like, 0% of people are going to notice that piece or that detail anyway.
They might.
And yeah, like to Tanya's point, it's a big guy holding a DJ desk. Sure, if you put too much effort into that, unfortunately, you got that result or that feedback. But like,
Right.
if no one's going to see it from the table when they're looking at it, ask yourself whether it's worth putting the time into paint. And it might be that it is, but you should ask yourself. Like, what's the reward for the effort here?
Be gentle with yourselves out there. Be realistic about what your expectations are, and then maybe you won't sweat some of these things. But since we all have our own 3 stories with this exact same phenomenon, it has to have been other people have their stories as well. Let us know what those are for you.
The other thing is to decide what you're painting. Why are you painting the miniature? Are you painting it to be a play piece? Are you painting it to be a showpiece? Are you painting it just to take some nice photos for the gram? If you're taking nice photos for the gram, don't take pictures of the bitch you didn't paint so good. Pretty straight up and down. Yeah. Well, I know, and I have mates who take pictures for the gram, and they have put a phenomenal amount of effort into anything that would be hit by a zenithal highlight. Yeah, the front and a zenithal highlight. The front and top get painted immaculately. Underneath, whatever.
Well, great topic, Tanya. Thanks for sharing it. Great advice from y'all as well. By the way, the contrast tip was not for you. It was just for anybody that may be out there that happened to maybe also looking for a quick way to get through some of these things. Maybe they're completist with their builds, but fractional with the painting. It's because we all have different things in the hobby. But in any case, that was a great topic. We're going to come back with another segment. If you're listening to this on the podcast, hold tight. Listen to a word from our sponsors. If you're listening to this on YouTube, hold till tomorrow for the other video. Click right over there, and then down below, listen to what your hobby stories are. See you all in a minute.
FTN is brought to you by Discount Games Inc. Please visit them at www.discountgamesinc.com. And don't forget to ask Jay about ways to save even more on your hobby projects.
Hey everybody, we are back. We've got a top 5 list here. The top 5 most forgiving factions in Warhammer 40,000 right now today. We have like a subtitle of this. But I don't.
This is my subtitle.
Yeah. No, we're talking about forgiving and also, like maybe if you play it on kind of easy mode kind of thing, but it's not really the case there. But there are elements of these armies that are a little forgiving, and so we thought it'd be cool to run down the top 5 most forgiving factions of Warhammer 40,000.
And look, some of these are some of these are made this list because they are just small model count, less actions per turn kind of a deal. And some of these made these because they've been treated very well this edition and always seem to have a robust level of scoring and matchup play. And so starting with our honorable mention, which I would say has not been the case for this edition, but they still warrant inclusion on this list. But the honorable mention here is Orcs. So Orcs haven't had the easiest time in a 10th edition, going from having very good to very, not amazing ways to play versus some of the more competitive archetypes out there. They've had issues with damage profiles not marrying up or marrying up too well into the current metagame. But on the whole, for the whole time that I've been playing 40k, Orcs have been a pretty straightforward kind of a deal where you just like, I'm going to put my greenskins on the table to where you are. I'm going to move from where I am to where you are. And when I get there, I intend to punch you. That has been a very strong way to play the game. Pretty low to the ground skill-wise and in execution as well.
Loved also like Ludus, back in the day. You just point and like, hey, this is like 97 shots. And
yeah, this is boys, choppers, punch, 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 but from gun. And roll, roll, roll.
Man, I feel like I play one of the more brain intensive factions, and then I play orcs, but I don't play them like I should be playing orcs. So now I've made orcs more brain intensive. But
that's what I've been saying. Orcs have been treated like have had a rough road through this edition for whatever reason, and yeah, you have to use your brain playing Orcs, which is why they didn't make this top 5. But honorable mention because the greenskins, they're here.
But the concept is simple with some of these Orcs. Is like you want to go from point A, which is your side of the table, to point B, wherever your opponent is.
So
as quickly as possible.
Here's the army that took their place. In 5th place on our top 5, World Eaters. World Eaters are doing what Orcs do, but in better armor and at times from further away. They're closing the distance quicker. They're more robust in their defensive stats when they get there, and they punch like Orcs do, if not better, into what has collectively been the most seen chassis to punch this edition, which most often is Marines. And the thing that Orcs can't negotiate all the time is a 2+ save with armor contempt access. World Eaters can negotiate that a lot better. So World Eaters and Orcs kind of knocked Orcs into the honorable mentions here because they're doing it a little bit better for the duration of this edition of 10th edition. So
World Eaters obviously started on the line, move as far as you can, charge.
In addition, World Eaters have much more access to doing things from reserve as well, with things like Exalted 8-Bound being able to rapid ingress, deep strike, go and do a lot of stuff, in addition to having units of 20 models that can just rip straight through walls with the right character, adjoining them, etc., all these other beautiful things. So in 5th place, we have the World Eaters. In 4th place, we have Marines. Marines have been treated very well this edition. I don't think anybody will disagree with that. If you are a generic Marines enjoyer and you have a army of Marines that can be played in a myriad of different detachments, you've been eating very good from day one till right this moment. And you've been able to do it in a way, if you wished, that was very, very hard to wield and very action intensive and brain intensive, or the opposite. At the top of that column would be some of the Raven Guard builds we've seen this edition, where you've had to you have an infinite playbook that you can execute every turn, very knowledge intensive, very matchup intensive, and always finding the right path. Or you could just windmill slam repexes, repulsors, vindicators, and then just some good counter assault units, and you have a good time. And that has been that Iron Storm build, which we saw come out in the very early edition of the first 3 months with the Codex, and that build has metamorphosized its way right until the present day with Gladius Ultramarines, Blades of Ultramarines. They're inhabiting that same thing where I have 3 to 5 quality tanks, 2 to 3 quality anti-assault pieces or counter-assault pieces, and you are just playing a very good way of 40k. I point at your unit, I put my Oath of Moment target on it, and then I make it so my stuff can see it, and the problem goes away. Pretty straightforward way to play the game.
Love it.
Next up, we have, of course, Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights, both going together at right now in different parts of this edition. It has been one or the other. Right now, 5 big Imperial Knights in Questoris Companions. Like I said, very low to the ground. As for I have 5 units. Yes, I need to not waste my 5 units, but if my 5 units,
as the case when you're playing an elite army, you have to be very specific and intent driven with every move that you make, but you still only have so many models to move and so many actions to do, decisions to make.
So while you do have to do things correctly, you only have to make so many decisions. So decision fatigue is pretty much non-existent, but you have to do the right things with it, because every time you waste an activation, well, it's 400-esque points of activation you've just let go down the drain. So you can't really be
Or
wasteful with it. But at the same time,
it could be wasting a movement phase. It's not just, you cleansed
Yeah.
here when you should have been over there or whatever. It's that you did not make the most of something that you had a precious finite a number of times you could do, further exacerbated by the fact that you only had a couple of models. But
yeah,
still,
at the same
if
time,
you do everything right and
it's 5 models.
you block and tackle the right way in Warhammer 40,000, it's a forgiving army.
I've been playing Knights.
I'm gonna be turning 40 this year, and I'm not gonna lie, the idea of just bringing 5 models to the table and that's all I have to move, as I get older, that looks more and more appealing.
Come and join me, Tanya. I did 12 years of guard. I played 12 years of guard.
We did our time.
Going from that, yeah, I did my time in the guard. I'm a veteran, I'm essentially a general. I've survived 12 years of being in the Astra Militarum.
On some, in some regiments, you'd be a firstborn.
Yeah. Eligible for some kind of single
Give you a
day
big old
off.
hat. Big mustache.
Long service leave is a single afternoon of not being in the trenches. But yeah, Imperial Knights, for that reason, the fact that they're very low to the ground, very forgiving, and the fact that you're so robust with 26 plus wounds and very high toughness, they make spot 3 on our top 5. And some people will already be surprised. Well, if they're only third, Adam, what is first and second? In second place, we have the Custodes. And especially the Custodes where they're at right now. Now, they have had previous iterations that played a lot more like Knights. I'm talking about Grotmus at the start of 2025, where they had Solar Spearhead, where they're essentially just playing Knights by a different chassis, playing somewhere between Big Knights and Little Knights, where the Telemons and the Get Back Up Undeath Contemptors were residing. But especially as they sit right now, where you essentially, the best Custodes list in the game is just 6 units of Custody Guard in transports being Land Raiders. That's it. And just like everything, I have just more units with 2 up, 4 up than you have the ability to kill reliably if I don't let you. And if you just play to not let them kill and like use their whole army every turn because you use terrain appropriately or you charge and tag things appropriately, there's so few armies that have the kill power. Plus the fact that you have 2 OC on the dang things as well. So they're flipping objectives. Their range profiles are not good, but they're good enough to kill the things that hold objectives. And then when you get into combat with them, they're very robust, very robust.
Well, even if you don't get in combat, they're very forgiving. They're more forgiving than Marines simply because their stat profiles hold them up. So
correct.
If you do happen to catch yourself out there, well, I guess I didn't move precisely, so yeah, you can see me. I didn't want you to, but you know what? Fire away. Oh, I didn't lose anybody. Yep. Cool. We can just move on.
And the list I'm describing very much survived the points changes that recently occurred, going up by 85 points for that, top meta list. And there's plenty of other iterations for Custodes out there for you to pivot into. And just the fact that a Custodes chassis right now is not wildly expensive. You get a lot of them in your 2,000-point army, and you can just stat line your way through a lot of matchups. So they make our second place. But Adam, what's better than that? What could possibly be in first place above from that? Well, think about what faction in the game has been good the entire edition. What faction in the game has the army rules that let you survive turn after turn, continue to score, never really get dominated. Even in the games you are losing, you're not getting dominated. And you come to the only answer for this top 5, and that is Necrons. Necrons are in first place as the most forgiving army, I believe, of the duration of this edition, for the fact that they've always had a top meta build. They've always had something they can play. And when they didn't have something that was incredibly good, default to race and units of 20 warriors with support pieces. And guess what? You're never going to really get outscored. You might still lose the game.
You can have a disastrous turn with Necrons and still be doing all right.
I have personally killed 2 of the Kegbots, the Crypto Thralls, and 18 Necron warriors from a unit of 20 in a turn. And guess how many they had when I tried when I had my next opportunity to kill them?
17.
20, because they backed off from a turn behind the terrain piece, regenerated for 2 turns, hit the reanimation button twice with the Ghost Arcs, the Res Orbs, and all that other stuff, back at full strength next time I got to allocate attacks at them. And I was like, yeah, they're number one. They're number one on this list. And the fact that you can do that with race as well, a little bit less, judiciously, but you can still do that very effectively. You can still go from 2 guys left to 6 guys to a full squad, pretty well, if you give yourself a turn off from being damaged. And they're just so robust in that. I think this is the strongest iteration of reanimation that we've seen in probably since 6th and 7th edition, where they you would literally lay them down and they'd get back up. And then you'd lay them down and they'd get back up.
And they could you just carry them around with them. They could always get back to full strength, and that's a powerful thing.
Yeah. So Necrons make number one on our ease of play this edition. Of course, the only real skill check with Necrons and that play, that insulation and that durability. So we talk about the skill ceiling on things. I suppose what we're talking about in this top 5 list is the skill floor, and the skill floor being low, as in like it's easy to walk up, start dancing on that floor, get things going at their top tier very quickly. And Necrons, as long as you keep things in appropriate ranges, like you're in the right range from your Reanimator and your Ghost Arc, you bought a Resorb on the character, you take the right support pieces, it all just kind of works. It just does. It just does its job. There's no need to spend a CP. There's no need to worry about whether this stratagem is going to be better spent over here or there. It just does it by itself. It just churns and churns and churns. So for that reason, they are number one on our tier list. So from the bottom, honorable mention to Orcs. And then in 5th place, we have World Eaters, because they're embodying all the energy of Orcs, but doing it a little bit more efficiently this edition. Then we have generic Space Marines, not Dark Angels, Blood Angels, any of that. Generic Space Marines, like if you are playing in that wheelhouse of Ultramarines, Raven Guard, Iron Warriors, stuff like that. Then we have Imperial and Chaos Knights. I did describe the Imperial Knights, but the Chaos Knights have been doing extremely well also, with a couple of small knights, 3 despoilers, and then some allies package of demons. That's still very robust, very efficient. 4 knights. It takes away a lot of the issues that you come to by playing big knights. And then in 2nd place, we have the Custodians, and in 1st place, we have those Necrons, which have to be touted at this moment as probably the best overall faction of this edition.
Undisputed, but let us know in the comments where we went wrong, if you think a faction should be on this list, or if we put at least one on there that you don't think should have made the cut.
Come at me.
Yeah,
let's do it. I spent 12 years in the Guard. I can take it.
Look, that's our show this week. It's awesome. Next week we'll be talking more about hobby stuff. I actually I'm going to show off a little bit. I actually put this on Instagram, speaking about things for the gram. But this Fuegan, I started them over the weekend and just almost got him finished about this. But
when I saw the color scheme on the box art, and actually, we're seeing the OG color scheme as well. For many a year, I still had my Citadel color that had the original Fuegan in it. Yeah. And I was really wondering how they were going to execute that color scheme with red on orange, with the new color palettes and stuff like that. I was wondering if they were just going to go back and just completely repaint the guy in a new scheme. But dude, well executed, because red and orange don't always look good on a model.
Following the box art, that's with these characters, I do a little bit. Sometimes throw in a little bit of personalization, but the models are very well detailed and come to life kind of on their own, and want to try to do them justice. Struggle a little bit with the orange, but I am happy with the way how it came out. I think I'm going to try one little extra layer of highlight that I would normally do to try to hide some of my it's not splotchy colors, but I got a little chunky colors on this. Going to try to hide that a little bit, but pretty much happy it came out. And I've added to the Phoenix Lord row.
Very interesting thing I just came to mind. How many of the Phoenix Lord color schemes go against the color wheel? Like, how many do that? Because I know Karandris, RIP, absolutely went against the color wheel as well, because it was green on green on green.
Yeah, one yellow, some yellow in there too, I guess. But
green on green on green is fine. It doesn't go against the color wheel. It's just maybe lacking a bit of interest, depending on which greens you pick.
Yeah. Maybe that's next week's hobby segment.
There's definitely a lot of red and orange on this guy. There's even his lenses, his eye lenses are orange. There's you can't get away from it if you're going by.
He knows what he likes,
Yeah, no, right? No, it all makes sense. This not it's a choice,
Is that a hobby segment for next week? When to go against the color wheel? When to fight the color wheel?
That's good. That is a good hobby segment. Thank you all for coming on and talking to us. Thank you all for listening. We will see you all next week, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I don't know what they said, but I already subscribed. You better do it too.